it's a very, very dangerous way to fight Gennady Golovkin, although he did it in the second fight. But I just feel like this fight won't go 12 rounds.
You keep saying, and Canelo is also saying, that he hasn't had as much animosity with anybody.
Never seen him like this.
Well, he was like that with Caleb Plant. There wasn't a lot of animosity.
No, to be honest with you, I wasn't involved with that fight. One. Number two, that was obviously from the first presser. And after that, it sort of calmed down a little bit. But this is deeper. Like from the first fight, like I said, you don't need Canelo Alvarez to sell pay-per-views. You would never say to Canelo, at the head-to-head, make sure you get up close to him. He's too big a star for that. He's doing it off his own back, and he did it again today. Like there's something inside him for this fight, and he wants Gennady to say what he's been saying to the media. That's why I called those quotes out today. I wanted, because on one hand, Gennady says, I respect him, it's not about that. And on the other hand, you look at what he said, and,
But that was the thing, because at the round table, Canelo said it again, but he never actually said, what pisses him off about what Triple G said until I actually asked him.
Yeah.
So why don't you think Triple G wants to say those types of stuff?
I think it's important for Triple G, that face of respect and sportsmanship in the sport. And I don't think he wants to play that game but he said it in the past, but he said it probably out of frustration or after a fight or, when he's been provoked. But there was a little bit more from him up there, when he talked about, he feels like it's going to be the best Triple G you've ever seen in this fight. And him and Jonathan Banks truly believe they will win this fight. And it's a tough ask, but I think it's going to be a thriller.
Eddie, in regards to people not giving Triple G the credit or whatnot because of age, how important is it for you as a promoter to kind of guide Triple G for the biggest fight after the Canelo fight at 60 or 68?
Yeah,
Benavidez, the 100.
This is the natural fight to make. It's the biggest fight in boxing. And I don't see other fights that motivate either man. For Canelo Alvarez, there's only 2 fights he's interested in. This one and the Bivol rematch. Other than that, do the fights motivate him? They become money fights, and I don't think Canelo Alvarez is in the game for money fights. I think that's why you saw him move up to 75 to fight Bivol. Yeah. He wants to be challenged, he wants to be tested. So I just feel that these are the kind of fights that excite him. Yeah. And for Triple G, coming off having to go to Japan after nearly 500 days out of the ring, in Murata's backyard and stop him in a performance that some people say, he didn't look that good. All right, for 2 rounds, he looked rusty in that fight, and I think he finds it hard to make 160. Yeah. He still went through the gears and smashed him to pieces in Tokyo and stopped him to unify the division. So, you're going to see, I think, a strong, robust Gennady Golovkin on September 17th. And I think, I agree, I don't think either fighter will take a step backwards.
In regards to the standards, right? Everybody kind of praises Canelo about his resume competition. What would you say for those that kind of don't give those same criticisms to Triple G and not fighting?
Well, he hasn't been able to land the fights that he wanted, especially over the last 5 years. Okay. And when he was calling out all those fights, listen, I turned fights down for some of my fighters when he was coming through. Fuck that. We did the Kell Brook fight. Darren Barker went, when he had a shot, he was the most feared fighter, Gennady Golovkin, and it only took really probably the Canelo fight for people to start saying, okay, well, he hit Canelo Alvarez with everything and he couldn't stop him. So, and those guys like Derevenchenko, Murata started stepping up against Triple G because they started to believe that he was beatable. Yeah. But he's still one of the biggest pound-for-pound punchers in the world. He's got a granite chin and he's brilliant. He's one of the great fighters of our generation.
In regards to the trilogy, some people would say it's hard to buy into this fight, right? But we look at Wilder and Fury, right? The third one, everybody's we're probably going to see the same thing, and it came out to be way better than expected.
Well, but if we see the same thing, we see another fight of the year. Okay. If the first fight was bad or the second fight was bad, then I understand it. The fact is, Canelo Alvarez is coming off a loss. Gennady Golovkin's fighting for his career. The first and second fight were fight of the year contender. They are both telling you they are going to come on the front foot and go to war on September 17th. You will see the best and the most exciting of the 3 fights so far.
What is the impact for this fight in regards to DAZN? Because I know DAZN has been pushing for this fight,
massive.
And whatnot.
Still, with the signing of Anthony Joshua to DAZN, with Canelo against Triple G for DAZN, coming off Canelo Bivol, all these great fights, still people will question the validity or the success of DAZN. The greatest platform in American boxing, the only platform in world boxing. It's a game-changing app. It's a game-changing way to televise the sport, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is the biggest fight in boxing, landing on the platform.
And my last question before I let everybody ask: I know you're a promoter. You want the biggest fights. You want to promote all the best fighters. But if you had to make a sales pitch, Crawford Spence, like why should Eddie Hearn promote that fight if he had the chance?
It's not about me promoting the fight. It should be a natural fight. But I keep saying the problem is the money that's generated for that fight is not as much as the fighters think. We all sit here now as fight fans saying, well, we'd love to see that fight, and we would. But the general public aren't, and this is the problem. Both guys want 20, 30 million for that fight. It's impossible. It doesn't generate that kind of money. And that's the problem, because they think it should. But the reality is it doesn't. And that's when I say this is a much bigger fight. It doesn't mean it's a better fight. I'm just telling you that the money generated is 4 or 5 times bigger than Crawford Spence. Because if the money was being generated for Crawford Spence, trust me, you'd see it. And you would have already seen it.
Right here, Eddie.